Have you ever felt a sudden weakness in your arm and wondered, is this just a part of getting older, or is it something far more dangerous? Every year, thousands of seniors face this very moment of doubt. The choice they make in that single instant can redefine their entire future. Imagine sitting at the breakfast table when, in the blink of an eye, your words refuse to form, or one side of your body feels strangely heavy. Is it just another sign of aging, or is a stroke knocking at your door? This question isn't just medical, it's deeply personal. I've seen families torn apart by a sign that was missed, and yet I've also witnessed lives saved because someone acted without hesitation. What we're discussing today is more than just information. It could be the very thing that stands between a life of independence and years of disability. That's why we need to have this conversation, right here, right now. But before we dive in, let me ask you, do you believe most people can truly tell the difference between normal aging and a medical emergency? Type a 1 in the comments if you think yes, or a 0 if you think no. I'll be reading every single response because your experience matters. And if you want to continue learning how to protect your health and the ones you love, make sure you subscribe to Health 365. This is a community where we share real knowledge, heartfelt stories, and life-saving habits. Now, let's uncover the truth together, because the signs are so often hiding in plain sight. When comparing a stroke to the process of aging, the first and most crucial difference is speed. A stroke doesn't wait. It strikes like a thunderclap, unfolding in minutes or even seconds. Research from the American Stroke Association confirms that nearly 80% of strokes announce themselves with a sudden loss of function, be it movement, speech, or vision, catching people completely off guard. Aging, by contrast, is a slow, gradual journey. Your walk might become a little slower over months. Your memory may take longer to recall a name over years. But it never changes everything in an instant the way a stroke does. Consider the story of Mr. James, a 74-year-old retired school teacher. One morning, while pouring coffee, he felt his right hand go limp, the cup crashing to the floor. Within minutes, his wife noticed his words had become slurred. They rushed to the emergency room, where doctors confirmed he was having an ischemic stroke. The speed of his symptoms was the undeniable clue. Because his wife recognized this sudden onset and acted immediately, he received treatment within the golden window of 3 hours. Today, James is back to gardening and walking his dog, a life he might have lost had they dismissed it as just another part of getting older. The lesson here is simple but profound. If something changes suddenly, your strength, your speech, your vision, it is not aging. Aging creeps in slowly. A stroke shouts in seconds. The only right action is to treat any sudden change as an emergency and call 911 immediately. Don't wait to see if it passes. Time lost is brain lost. Doctors have a stark warning. For every minute a stroke goes untreated, nearly 2 million brain cells die. Recognizing the speed of the attack is your first life-saving step. And yet speed is only the beginning. Sometimes the difference is hidden in the way our brain handles words and memories, and that's where things can become even more deceptive. One of the most confusing signs for families is when a loved one suddenly struggles with words. Both stroke and aging can affect memory and language, but the patterns are vastly different. In normal aging, it's common to forget a name only to remember it later, or to pause while searching for the right word. Studies from the National Institute on Aging show that mild difficulty finding words is a normal part of cognitive slowing, not necessarily a sign of disease. But with a stroke, the change is immediate and dramatic. A person may suddenly lose the ability to speak clearly, slur their words, or become unable to understand what's being said to them. This isn't gradual, it's abrupt, like flipping a switch. Take the case of Mrs. Linda, a 70-year-old grandmother. She was chatting with her daughter on the phone when her sentences suddenly dissolved into a tangle of jumbled sounds. At first, her daughter thought it was a bad connection. But within seconds, she realized her mother was unable to form coherent words. She called 911 immediately. Linda was diagnosed with a left-sided ischemic stroke, which had directly affected her brain's language center. Because her daughter acted so quickly, Linda began speech therapy within days. Today, she can once again tell stories to her grandchildren, though a slight accent now lingers in her voice. Here is the key message. Occasional word slips are a normal part of aging, but a sudden loss of speech or understanding is a major red flag for stroke. If a loved one starts speaking strangely or can't find basic words all at once, don't brush it off. Test them by asking a simple question like, "What is your name?" or "Can you repeat this sentence?" If they can't, it's time to call for help. This leads us to another powerful clue. Language isn't the only sudden loss. Sometimes the body itself reveals the difference, especially in the way we move. Movement tells a powerful story. With normal aging, you might notice a slower pace, stiff joints in the morning, or a mild tremor that appears when you're tired. These changes creep in gradually and tend to affect both sides of the body more or less evenly. A stroke, however, is entirely different. It almost always strikes one side. This can manifest as sudden weakness, heaviness, or even complete paralysis in the face, arm, or leg. Doctors call this hemiparesis, and it happens because blood flow to one part of the brain is blocked, shutting down control over the opposite side of the body. Let's look at the experience of Mr. Robert, a 70-year-old veteran. He was playing chess at a community center when his friends noticed something unusual. His left arm kept sliding off the table, and he couldn't seem to lift it back up. Minutes later, his smile looked uneven, with one side of his mouth drooping. They didn't wait. They called 911. In the hospital, scans confirmed a right-sided stroke. Because his friends recognized the sudden one-sided weakness, Robert received clot-busting medication quickly. After months of physical therapy, he's now back to his morning walks, though he carries a cane as a reminder of how close he came to losing his independence. So, how can you apply this? Here's a simple test. If someone complains of sudden heaviness or numbness on just one side, ask them to lift both arms. If one arm drifts downward, it is a classic warning sign of a stroke. Don't wait for it to get better on its own. Time is critical. Now, while changes in movement can be dramatic, there's another area where the difference is just as striking. Our vision. Sometimes the eyes give the first clue. Our eyes often reveal what our words or movements cannot. With aging, vision usually declines slowly. You might need stronger reading glasses over the years, or notice more difficulty seeing at night. Conditions like cataracts are common, but they progress gradually, giving you time to adjust. A stroke, however, can alter vision in an instant. A sudden loss of sight, blurring in one eye, or even a whole section of your visual field disappearing, is a hallmark sign. The American Academy of Ophthalmology reports that up to 30% of stroke patients experience sudden vision problems, which are often mistaken for an eye issue rather than a brain emergency. Consider the story of Mrs. Caroline, a 76-year-old retired librarian. One afternoon, while reading her favorite novel, she realized the words on the right side of the page had simply vanished. At first, she thought her glasses were dirty. She cleaned them, blinked, and even rubbed her eyes, but the problem remained. Luckily, her grandson, who was visiting, remembered hearing that sudden vision loss could mean a stroke. They called 911. Doctors confirmed she had an occipital lobe stroke, affecting the part of the brain that processes vision. Because they caught it early, Caroline began rehabilitation that helped her adapt and regain part of her sight. The lesson is clear. Aging steals vision slowly, but a stroke can rip it away without warning. If you or a loved one notices sudden blurring, partial blindness, or trouble focusing, it's not just old age, it's time to act fast. Cover one eye, then the other, to quickly test each one. If one side is suddenly weaker, you must seek emergency care. Tell me in the comments. Press 1 if you believe you could spot the difference, or 0 if you're not sure yet. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss life-saving tips like this. But vision is only part of the story. Sometimes the first sign isn't in the eyes or hands at all. It's in the way we walk and keep our balance. How we walk says more about our brain than most people realize. With normal aging, balance issues usually develop slowly. Joints stiffen, muscles weaken, and reflexes aren't as sharp. An older adult may occasionally feel unsteady, but with rest, the sense of stability often returns. A stroke is very different. It can steal your balance in a matter of seconds. One moment you're standing tall, the next you can't coordinate your steps, as if your body no longer obeys your commands. The CDC reports that a sudden loss of coordination is one of the most overlooked stroke warnings. So how do you tell the difference? Aging can create a gradual wobble. A stroke, on the other hand, creates sudden, profound clumsiness, dropping objects, stumbling sideways, or being completely unable to stand upright. This isn't fatigue, it's a brain under attack. Doctors often use a simple test. Ask the person to walk a straight line or touch their nose with one finger. If they suddenly cannot do it, a stroke is the likely cause. If you or someone near you suddenly loses their balance, don't assume it's just a misstep. Sit them down immediately to prevent a fall and call 911 without delay. Now, balance is just one piece of the puzzle. Another difference lies deep within the body's own sensations. Sometimes numbness speaks louder than words. Our sense of touch often tells us when something is wrong. With aging, changes in sensation usually happen slowly and tend to be symmetrical. Poor circulation or arthritis can cause tingling in both feet or hands, but it builds over months or years. A stroke, however, is sudden and one-sided. You might notice numbness in your face, arm, or leg, but usually on only one half of your body. According to the National Stroke Association, about 65% of stroke survivors experience sudden numbness, often paired with weakness. Let me share the story of Mr. Harold, a 70-year-old retired bus driver. He was playing cards with friends when his left hand suddenly felt like it had fallen asleep. He shook it, thinking it was just poor circulation, but the numbness spread up his arm within minutes. His friends saw that he couldn't even feel the cards in his hand anymore. They called for help immediately. At the hospital, doctors confirmed a stroke affecting his sensory cortex. Because Harold got treatment quickly, physical therapy helped him recover much of the sensation in his hand, though he still describes it as feeling like he's wearing a light glove. Here's what you should do. If numbness appears suddenly, especially on just one side, don't ignore it. Try this simple test. Close your eyes and have someone lightly touch both of your hands or both cheeks. If you feel it less on one side, that's a red flag. It's time to call 911. And sometimes the warning comes not from weakness or numbness, but from pain itself. A headache unlike any you've ever had before. Headaches are common, but their type and timing matter. Normal age-related headaches often come from tension or dehydration. They build gradually, are mild to moderate, and usually ease with rest. A stroke headache is profoundly different. It strikes suddenly and is often described as the worst headache of my life. Doctors warn that a severe, abrupt headache can signal a hemorrhagic stroke, where a vessel bleeds inside the brain. Research shows nearly a quarter of these strokes begin this way, often accompanied by nausea or vision changes. Aging headaches respond to rest. A stroke headache arrives like an explosion, with no clear cause, and doesn't ease when you lie down. If this sudden, intense pain comes with numbness, weakness, or slurred speech, it's an emergency. If a headache feels sharper, stronger, and completely different from anything you've experienced before, treat it as urgent. Call 911. Tell me in the comments, press 1 if you'd call for help, or 0 if you might hesitate. And please subscribe so these reminders stay fresh in your mind. But knowing the signs isn't enough. What truly saves lives is how you respond. A stroke is always an emergency. Remember the F.A.S.T rule. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911. Patients who reach the hospital within 3 hours of their first symptoms are far more likely to recover without serious disability. Changes from aging, by contrast, can be managed with healthy habits, staying active, eating well, and maintaining social connections. Consider Mrs. Eleanor, a 60-year-old volunteer. She experienced sudden numbness in her right cheek during choir practice. Her friends remembered the F.A.S.T rule, noticed her speech was slightly slurred, and called for help. At the hospital, she received clot-busting medication within the golden window. Months later, Eleanor is back singing every Sunday. Her voice is a little softer, but her spirit is unbroken. Without that quick action, her life would have been completely different. Here is what to take home. If symptoms appear suddenly, don't second-guess yourself. Call 911 first. For gradual changes, focus on a healthy lifestyle. Knowing when to act can mean the difference between a full life and years of struggle. If you're over 60, this might be the most important message you hear today. Because here is the truth. Your body often whispers before it screams. And when it comes to a stroke, those whispers can mean the difference between a full recovery and life-altering damage. As you enter your golden years, you learn to live with a few aches and forgetful moments. But what if I told you that some of those small things, feeling a little dizzy, slurring a single word, or seeing double for just a few seconds, could be early signs that your brain is in trouble? Most people think strokes happen out of the blue, but in many cases, your body gives you a warning. We just haven't been taught how to listen. That's why I made this video, because you deserve to know what those warnings look like, the subtle signs that people so often ignore. and you deserve the chance to protect your memory, your movement, and your independence before it's too late. So, if you're over 60, I ask you to stay with me to the end. If you've ever experienced even one of these signs, leave a comment below and tell us. You might help someone else recognize their own symptoms. And if you care about your health, subscribe to Health 365 and turn on notifications. Now, let's walk through the early warning signs of a stroke, starting with the one that is most overlooked of all: sudden dizziness or a loss of balance. Have you ever stood up and felt the floor moving beneath you? Maybe your legs felt unsteady, or you had to grab onto furniture to stay upright. Perhaps it passed after a moment, and you told yourself, "I just need some water," or "I must be tired." But here's the truth. When you're over 60, this kind of sudden, unexplained dizziness could be something much more serious. When the cerebellum, the part of your brain that controls balance, isn't getting enough blood, it can cause this strange dizziness, stumbling, or even a sudden fall. And here's what's truly dangerous. It doesn't get better when you sit or lie down. It doesn't feel like regular fatigue. It feels off, unsettling. Your body knows something is wrong. Please, if you ever feel this kind of dizziness out of nowhere, especially if it's paired with blurry vision or nausea, don't just lie down to rest it off. Call for help, right away. The earlier you act, the more of your brain you can protect. If you've ever felt this, share your experience in the comments. Your story could empower someone else to take action. Now, let's move to the next early sign, one that can show up quietly in your vision, long before anyone realizes what's happening. Have you ever looked up and noticed the world suddenly looked fuzzy? Maybe things were blurry or doubled, or it felt like you were looking through a foggy window. Perhaps you saw black spots or experienced tunnel vision. Many older adults assume this is just part of aging. "I probably need new glasses," you might think. But here is the key difference. Normal vision changes come on slowly over time. Stroke-related vision problems happen in an instant. Sudden blurry or double vision, especially when it appears out of nowhere, can be one of the earliest signs of a stroke. It's not because your eyes are failing, but because the part of your brain that processes sight isn't getting enough oxygen. When the vital flow of blood to your brain is disrupted, the world your eyes see can suddenly become incomprehensible. This unsettling experience might last for only a few seconds, or it could linger. But even if it vanishes as quickly as it came, it could be a sign that your brain has just endured a mini-stroke, also known as a TIA. And here is the sobering truth. A TIA is often a precursor, a warning that a major stroke could follow within days. So please, do not dismiss it. If your vision suddenly changes, even for a moment, call for help immediately. That single moment of hesitation could cost you your independence, or even your life. If you have ever experienced something like this, even once, please share your story in the comments. Your experience could empower someone else to recognize the danger in time. Next, we will explore a sign of stroke that isn't about what you see, but what you understand and how you communicate. Let's discuss confusion and trouble with speech. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of a conversation, the thoughts perfectly clear in your mind, but the words simply won't form correctly? Perhaps you knew precisely what you wanted to say, but it emerged as a jumbled mess. Or maybe you were listening to someone, and their words seemed to lose all meaning, as if your brain was struggling to keep pace, but couldn't. This is not simple forgetfulness. It is not just a senior moment. It could be a critical misfire in your brain's language center, a serious red flag for a stroke. This symptom is called aphasia. It occurs when a stroke impacts the left side of your brain, the very area that governs your ability to understand language and construct clear sentences. For many older adults, this can be one of the most frightening signs, especially because you may be fully aware that something is profoundly wrong. You might feel frustrated, embarrassed, or even try to brush it off, telling yourself, "I'm just tired." But if this confusion descends suddenly, without warning, you must act fast. Here is what to watch for: trouble understanding what others are saying, struggling to form a complete sentence, using the wrong words or forgetting common ones, a feeling that your brain is stuck, no matter how hard you try. If this happens, do not wait to see if it improves. Even if it lasts only a few minutes, it could be the onset of a stroke or a mini stroke. And when it comes to protecting your brain, time is everything. Has a moment like this ever happened to you or to someone you know? Sharing it in the comments might help another person recognize this critical warning. Coming up next, a sign that affects not just what you say, but what you can physically do, often on one side of your body. Let's talk about something most of us take for granted: our speech. Because when your words suddenly falter, your brain might be trying to get your attention. Have you ever tried to say something simple, your own name, a short sentence, and found the words came out slow, slurred, or simply wrong? Perhaps your mouth felt uncooperative, or your tongue seemed thick and heavy. You knew what you wanted to say, but the words themselves were betrayed. This is one of the most well-known signs of a stroke, yet tragically, it is still often missed in its crucial first moments. Many people rationalize it away. Maybe I'm just tired, or I didn't drink enough water today. And while those things can slightly affect speech, the slurring caused by a stroke is sudden and feels distinctly different. It can happen even when everything else feels perfectly fine. Your mind may be sharp, but your mouth can no longer keep up. This is because a stroke can damage the muscles that control speech, not just your thoughts. Here is a simple test. Try to say your full name out loud, then a clear sentence like, "Today is a beautiful day." If your speech sounds off, if it is slow, jumbled, or not your usual voice, do not ignore it. Even if it clears up after a few minutes, you are not necessarily in the clear. It could have been a mini stroke, and the next one might not be so small. So please, if this has ever happened to you, even once, speak to your doctor. And if you feel comfortable, share your experience in the comments. Your story might be the very thing that helps someone else realize they need to get help too. Next, we will look at another powerful sign, one that affects your strength, your grip, and your ability to move, often appearing on just one side of your body. Let's discuss a stroke sign that is difficult to ignore, yet is still frequently misunderstood: sudden weakness or numbness on one side of your body. Imagine reaching for a cup of water, and your arm suddenly feels like a leaden weight. Or you try to stand, but one leg refuses to cooperate. Perhaps your hand goes numb, or your grip vanishes without warning. It is a strange, unnerving feeling, as if a part of your body has simply stopped listening to your brain. If this ever happens to you, especially if it comes on suddenly, do not try to shake it off. Do not assume you just slept on it wrong or that a good stretch will make it go away. This is your brain sending a desperate call for help. You see, when a stroke blocks blood flow to the part of the brain controlling movement, the signals can no longer reach your muscles. That is why your arm won't lift, why your leg might drag, or why one side of your face or hand goes numb. It is not just weakness. It is a disconnection. And it is one of the clearest indications that a stroke may be happening. Here is a quick way to test yourself. Raise both arms straight out in front of you. Can you hold them up evenly? If one arm begins to drift downward or feels too weak to lift at all, call emergency services immediately. Even if the feeling subsides after a few minutes, it could still be a mini stroke. Your final warning that a larger one may be on its way. Time is critical. Acting fast can prevent long-term damage and protect your ability to walk, to hold, to speak. And if this has ever happened to you, even briefly, I hope you will share your story in the comments. It might give someone else the courage to act faster next time. Next, let's move to another sign that often goes hand in hand with this one, something many people mistakenly blame on age, but can be your brain sounding an alarm. Sudden clumsiness or trouble walking. Have you ever been walking across the room and out of nowhere your leg feels strange, as if it has become heavier? Maybe you trip over nothing, feel wobbly, or notice one foot dragging slightly. It is easy to tell yourself, "I'm just getting older," or "maybe it's my shoes." But here is the key difference. If the clumsiness comes on suddenly, especially if you felt fine the day before, it is not just age. It could be the beginning of a stroke. When blood flow to the brain is disrupted, even slightly, the part that controls movement and coordination cannot do its job. This is why some people describe the feeling as their body not listening or walking feeling off, as if their legs have forgotten what to do. It may not be a dramatic fall, but it is enough to make you feel unsteady, uncertain, or hesitant with every step. Please do not ignore this. If your body suddenly feels clumsy, especially if it is accompanied by other signs like dizziness, slurred speech, or a drooping face, call for help right away. Do not try to walk it off. Do not lie down and wait. Because if a stroke is beginning, every second counts, and early treatment could be the difference between recovery and long-term disability. Have you ever had an episode like this, where walking felt strange or your balance gave out without warning? If so, share it in the comments. Your story might help someone realize they need to act fast. Next, we will talk about a sign that is loud, sharp, and terrifying. A sudden, severe headache that feels unlike anything you have ever had before. Have you ever felt a headache so intense, so sharp, that it struck you like a thunderclap? Not a dull ache that creeps in slowly, but one that erupts out of nowhere, all at once, and feels like the worst headache of your life. If you have, do not ignore it, especially if you are not someone who normally gets headaches. This kind of sudden, intense pain could be a sign of a hemorrhagic stroke, which happens when a blood vessel in your brain bursts. It is a medical emergency, and it can worsen by the minute. You might also feel nauseous, confused, have a stiff neck, or experience blurred vision. Some people might think they are just stressed, dehydrated, or overtired. But this is not a normal headache. This is your brain begging for help. The most dangerous mistake you can make is to take a pain pill and lie down, hoping it will pass. Because when there is bleeding inside the brain, every second is critical. Waiting too long can mean permanent damage, or worse. So here is what I want you to remember. If a headache comes on suddenly and feels different from any you have had before, call emergency services immediately. Do not wait, and do not second-guess yourself. Your brain does not get second chances. Has a worst headache of your life ever turned out to be something serious for you or someone you know? Share in the comments. It could help someone else act faster. Next, we will talk about the most visible and urgent sign of all, something you can see in the mirror: a drooping face or an uneven smile. One of the clearest, most urgent signs of a stroke is one you might spot just by looking at your reflection: facial drooping or an uneven smile. Have you ever looked in the mirror and noticed your smile just did not look right? Maybe one side of your mouth refused to lift. Perhaps your cheek felt heavy, or one eyelid seemed to droop more than usual. It might feel like something minor, something that will pass, but this is one of the biggest red flags your brain can send. When a stroke affects the part of the brain that controls facial muscles, it causes weakness, usually on just one side. That is why your smile may suddenly look lopsided. One side moves, the other stays still. It might appear with other signs, like slurred speech or arm weakness, or it might appear on its own. Either way, this is your brain screaming for help. Please do not wait to see if it goes away. Call for emergency services immediately. Here is a simple test you can do right now. Look in the mirror and smile. Raise both arms. Say a simple sentence aloud. Can you smile evenly? Do both arms stay up? Do your words sound normal? If the answer to any of those is no, act fast. A stroke steals brain cells by the second. The sooner you get help, the more you can recover. Even if the symptoms disappear after a few minutes, it could have been a mini-stroke, a TIA, and those are often the warning signs of a major stroke ahead. Have you or someone close to you ever experienced this? Please share your story in the comments. You might help someone recognize the same sign in time. Now that we have covered these early stroke signs, let's talk about what you can do next to protect your memory, your independence, and possibly even your life. Have you ever wondered if the way you are sitting right now could be quietly putting your health at risk? Imagine this. You are settled in your favorite armchair, the television on, a warm drink in hand. It seems perfectly harmless. But what if I told you that this simple act of sitting could be silently increasing your chances of having a stroke? Today, we are going to gently explore a topic that rarely gets the spotlight. How some of our most common sitting habits, the ones we never think twice about, might be quietly harming us. But don't worry. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. It's about small changes that can make a profound difference. This is a conversation, just you and me, about habits, comfort, and your well-being. If you are someone who spends a lot of time sitting, watching TV, reading, or chatting with loved ones, this is especially for you. Before we begin, I would love to know, have you ever considered how your sitting position could affect your health? And be sure to subscribe so you never miss a video that could protect your future. Let's take a closer look at the first habit, one that is more dangerous than most people realize. A habit so ordinary, it goes unquestioned: sitting still for long stretches of time. Whether you are curled up on the couch watching a favorite movie, sitting at the kitchen table with family, or knitting in your cozy chair by the window, it all seems harmless. But when we stay in one position for too long, especially without moving our legs, we may be unknowingly setting the stage for danger. You see, when we sit motionless, the blood flow in our body, particularly in our legs, slows down. Think of it like a river with no current. Eventually, things start to settle and clump together. This slow flow makes it easier for blood to thicken and form clots. If one of those clots breaks free and travels to the brain, it can block the blood supply and cause a stroke. What is most troubling is that this can happen without warning. It doesn't take hours upon hours. It can begin quietly, while we are simply enjoying our daily routine. But I am not saying you have to give up your favorite chair. Sitting is not the enemy. Stillness is. Our bodies thrive on movement. It doesn't have to be intense. It just needs to happen. Start with simple changes. Set a gentle reminder. Every half hour or so, just stand up, stretch your legs, or take a few steps. If you are watching TV, use the commercial breaks as your cue to move. Even small actions like flexing your ankles or wiggling your toes while seated can help pump blood through your veins. Another easy trick is to keep a water bottle beside you. Not only will you stay hydrated, which is essential for healthy circulation, but it gives you a natural reason to stand up and move. The next time you settle in for a cozy afternoon, remember, a few moments of movement can quietly protect your health. Now, let's move on to a sitting habit that may seem elegant or relaxed, but carries its own hidden risks. Crossing your legs. It feels natural, even proper. But sitting with your legs crossed for long periods can create hidden problems for your circulation. When you cross one leg over the other, you place extra pressure on the veins in your lower limbs. This can impede the smooth flow of blood back up to your heart. Over time, this strain can contribute to poor circulation. And if that leads to blood pooling or clotting, it can increase the risk of a clot reaching the brain. Furthermore, crossing your legs can also cause a temporary rise in your blood pressure. While the effect might seem minor, when repeated for hours every day, it adds up. So what can you do? The first step is awareness. Notice how often you cross your legs. If it is your go-to position, try keeping both feet flat on the floor instead. Placing a small footrest under your feet can also help you feel comfortable in a healthier posture. It may take some getting used to, but your circulatory system will thank you. Remember, it is not about never crossing your legs again. It is about not remaining in that position for too long. Next, let's explore a habit that affects more than just your legs. It's about your posture and how slouching can quietly disrupt the way blood travels to your brain. This is a posture that sneaks up on most of us. Slouching, with a rounded back and your head hanging forward. It is a habit that creeps in when we are reading, scrolling on a phone, or simply feeling tired. It feels relaxed. But this simple posture can quietly interfere with the steady flow of blood to your brain. When we let our head drop forward and our shoulders curl inward, we place stress on the blood vessels in our neck. These vessels, particularly the carotid arteries, are the main highways delivering oxygen-rich blood to the brain. Even mild, prolonged compression can reduce that flow, forcing the brain to work harder for what it needs. Over time, this can contribute to dizziness, fuzzy thinking, or headaches, and it can compound other risk factors. There is another layer to this. The average human head weighs around 10 pounds, but when it leans forward, the strain on the neck multiplies. That constant tension can cause stiffness and alignment issues that make proper blood flow even more difficult. But here is the encouraging part. Posture can be improved, gently and gradually. You don't need to sit perfectly straight. Simply try sitting in a chair with good back support, or tuck a small cushion behind your lower back. Keep books or screens at eye level so your head doesn't have to dip forward. These small adjustments can make a world of difference. If you find yourself spending time looking down, grant yourself a moment to pause. Roll your shoulders back, lift your chin, and breathe. Just a minute or two can work wonders. Even a single deep breath while sitting tall can help reset your entire system. Inhale, feel your chest expand, and allow your body to realign. So the next time you feel yourself curling forward, simply smile, sit back, and give your mind the space and oxygen it craves. But our posture is affected by more than just our gaze. Let's consider another common habit, one that disrupts your body's equilibrium in a different way. It's a habit many of us have without ever realizing the hidden strain it creates, one that can even seem casual or stylish. I'm talking about sitting with one leg tucked underneath you, or always crossing your legs to the same side. Perhaps you always tuck your right leg under your left. Or maybe you find yourself shifting sideways in your chair, leaning onto one hip. It might feel comfortable, even familiar, but over time, this asymmetrical posture can brew a quiet storm within your body. When you consistently place more weight on one side, your pelvis begins to tilt. Imagine your pelvis as the very foundation of your body. It holds everything in place. When that foundation shifts, your spine, hips, and muscles all scramble to compensate for the imbalance. This can lead to pressure on the delicate nerves and veins that run through your lower back and legs. And that pressure doesn't just cause discomfort. It can impede circulation, irritate nerves, and hinder the return of blood from your legs back to your heart. You might feel the signals your body is sending. A tingling in one leg, a foot that has fallen asleep, or a persistent stiffness in your lower back. These are gentle nudges, telling you that something is out of balance. For older adults, who may already be navigating some degree of joint wear or reduced flexibility, this kind of uneven posture can quietly elevate the risk of chronic back pain or even circulation issues that lead to swelling and clotting. So, what is the remedy? It begins with awareness. The next time you catch yourself favoring one side, gently shift your weight and plant both feet firmly on the floor. If this feels strange at first, try placing a small rolled towel under your feet, or use a cushion to support your back and hips evenly. If you're on a soft couch, a firm pillow beneath your hips can help keep your pelvis level. It's also incredibly helpful to stand up and walk around for a minute, every so often. This simple act of moving resets your posture, helping your body return to a more neutral, healthy position. And if you've been sitting off-center for years, please don't worry. It is never too late to cultivate new habits that feel just as natural. Remember, this isn't about achieving perfection. It's about giving your body a fair, balanced foundation upon which to rest. This idea of a foundation brings us to another choice many of us make without a second thought, especially at home, one that can restrict blood flow more than you might imagine. It's something so ordinary, most of us never question it: the chair you're sitting on. Perhaps it's that cozy armchair in the living room, the one that sighs and sinks when you sit down. Or the kitchen stool that's just the right height for your morning coffee. But here's what you may not realize. Sitting in a chair that's too low, too soft, or unsupportive can quietly compromise your circulation in ways that compound over time. When your chair is too low, your knees often rise higher than your hips. While this might feel relaxing initially, it places pressure on the underside of your thighs. And right there, beneath your thighs, are the major veins and arteries responsible for carrying blood back to your heart. When these vessels are compressed, even slightly, blood flow slows. This can cause blood to pool in your lower legs and feet, which may lead to swelling, and in more serious cases, the formation of blood clots. Now, factor in poor back support. Without it, most of us naturally slouch. This posture pulls your pelvis out of alignment, rounds your back, and strains your spine. It also subtly shifts your weight, further compressing blood vessels in your lower body. For older adults, especially those already managing reduced mobility or vein health, this combination creates a perfect storm for circulation problems. But this doesn't mean you have to abandon your favorite seat. Instead, you can make a few gentle adjustments. Start by checking the height. When you're seated, your hips should be level with, or slightly higher than, your knees. If your chair is too low, add a firm cushion to give yourself a boost. If your feet don't comfortably reach the ground, place a footrest or even a stack of sturdy books beneath them to support your legs. For your back, a small cushion or a rolled-up towel placed at the small of your back can help maintain your spine's natural curve and prevent slouching. And of course, it's always a good idea to get up every half hour or so. Stretch your legs. Take a short walk, even if it's just around the room. Comfort doesn't have to come at the cost of your health. With just a few thoughtful adjustments, your favorite chair can support both your relaxation and your well-being. Finally, let's consider an influence that has less to do with your posture and more to do with your surroundings. It's an element that can affect your body in ways many of us overlook. Have you ever found yourself sitting in a chilly room, perhaps near a drafty window in winter, or directly under a powerful air conditioner? It might feel refreshing at first, but remaining in a cold environment for too long can quietly impact your circulation. When your body feels cold, especially in your arms, legs, hands, and feet, it instinctively reacts by narrowing the blood vessels near the skin's surface. This is a clever survival mechanism designed to conserve heat and protect your core temperature. But as those vessels constrict, the flow of blood slows down. And when blood moves too slowly, especially in your extremities, the risk of clotting and poor circulation increases. For older adults, this effect can be even more pronounced. As we age, our blood vessels naturally become less flexible, and our body's ability to regulate temperature becomes less efficient. Couple that with medications that can affect circulation or blood pressure, and the impact of a cold environment becomes a critical factor to consider. You might notice the signs. After a while, in a cold room, your fingers or toes feel numb, your legs feel heavy, or you experience sudden chills. These are your body's signals, warning you that blood flow is compromised. While it may seem harmless in the moment, this repeated long-term reduction in circulation can increase the risk of cardiovascular issues, including stroke. So, what can you do? The solution is beautifully simple. Stay warm. This doesn't mean you need to overheat your home. It can be as easy as draping a blanket over your lap, wearing cozy socks or slippers, or dressing in layers. If you're sitting near a window, draw the curtains or block a draft with a rolled towel. Even small comforts, like sipping a warm drink or placing a heating pad near your feet, can gently encourage better circulation. True comfort isn't just about how you feel, it's about how your body functions. By staying warm, you help your blood move freely, your heart work less hard, and your mind stay sharp. Now that we've explored these quiet habits, let's take a moment to bring it all together. As we've uncovered these everyday patterns, perhaps you're reflecting on how you've been sitting today, or yesterday, or even for years. Please know, this isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. The knowledge that something as simple as how and where you sit can quietly affect your health is a form of power. It's the power to choose a little differently, one moment at a time. Your body has carried you through a lifetime of memories, challenges, laughter, and love. It deserves to be supported in return, with comfort, with care, and with a few simple adjustments that can make a world of difference. Whether it's standing up more often, shifting your posture, or warming your favorite reading nook, every small step you take is meaningful. You don't have to change everything at once. Just pick one thing that feels manageable, and begin there. Your future self will thank you, quietly, every single day, in the form of stronger circulation, fewer aches, and a greater sense of peace. If you found this information helpful, let us know with a 1 in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Health 365. We are here with you, every step of the way, helping you live well, feel strong, and stay inspired. Take care of yourself, my friend. You truly deserve it.